our value system, trying to replicate our real selves everywhere and any platform we are given the opportunity to, right? Now we are having this conversation here. This is the same conversation we would have without recording this call, right? So we're not just transformed all of a sudden now speaking about personal branding. We've been having this for a long time. This is who we are. So talking about negative publicity, I don't think it's sustainable. If that's what you want to start your branding on, right? Just to become popular is a popularity contest, then is not sustainable because personal branding is not just all about popularity. I think a lot of times we ascribe being popular to having an awesome brand, right? But you can grow popularity quickly, right, and not have a sustainable brand. Or you can take time to grow your brand and make sure the audience you are reaching out to, you're reaching out to them with your full self and with all the relevant information needed to touch them. So, in my opinion, I would say negative publicity as a way just to be popular, it's not personal branding. It's just living a dual life and just trying to have that just to be popular and have a lot of crowds follow you.
Um, thank you, Paul. I don't think our, some of our mainline news channels will love to had, to hear that from you because you know that once we begin to tell people the truth, it spells, it spoils their business, So I thank you for bringing that up. I was thinking because I've had people tell me, there's nothing like negative publicity, and I'm like, but it does your brand some harm in the long run, because there are people that you will never be able to win over once some certain things come out there, regardless of how much of an expert you are in a specific field. So thank you very much, Mr. Paul, for bringing that up. Okay, now that we're talking about people being authentic, we also have people who have low self-esteem, people who don't really know what they want out of life, people who don't know what part of the spectrum they belong to. So they don't know if they are introvert or extrovert. They don't know if they just go to people who have been on the wrong end of life, and they will need to really understand what they need to do to get up there. Chukwunoso, I actually had this question specifically for you, so I'm going to, take a detour from Peter. Chukwunoso, um, do you think there, you know, there are resources that you could offer people to be able to identify who they are, what they can, how they can become better? Are there strategies that you can offer to people?
Absolutely. I would say that it's okay to start up first and not know where you're headed to. I think that's what everybody's doing in the world. Um, you might think you have greater clarity for step A. For you to move to step B, you need a higher level of clarity. And when you get into step B, you even gain more clarity to go into step C. I would strongly recommend that during the process in which you're trying to figure out exactly your purpose on earth and what you want to do, take some time to pay attention to yourself. It's very important. Many of the times people think that some other person will help them figure out themselves. That might actually be true. That might have worked for people, but I think that once things goes out, you end up blaming those people. But when you scale of self-evaluation, self-examination, really being taught, then you can figure out exactly the events that go on in your life and what those events mean to you. So in the process of figuring out who you are, your skills, I think there's a lot of intentionality on this job. In fact, one of the key things that one can do is keep a journal. Pay attention to everything that you do. Ask questions. Look for your interest, right? There are also online resources that you can use to do maybe personality tests, self-evaluation, but even beyond those resources that tell you those things. I think the most powerful one probably would be your conviction of who you are. And you know what I think? I think the answer is just probably at your face. You haven't just paid enough attention. You haven't explored it enough. You haven't stayed with yourself long enough to figure out the answers to those questions. You can also leverage connections, friends, family members to have conversations and really ask questions. This is what I think about myself. Is this really what you guys are seeing? Right? Because it could be what you think about yourself. They are seeing something else, which is that gap in perception. So that doesn't really mean that that's not who you are. It's just that you're not presenting it properly. That is who you think you are, but we are seeing something else. And then you can then go deeper to figure out exactly why are they saying something else? How can I better present myself? And this is really an ongoing process. Like I said, it's a step you keep moving, leveraging all the resources that you have around you to gain more information.
Thank you, Chukunonso. You struck on three chords. You said we should stay with ourselves. Most of you know me, a person of faith, yes. And when I was starting out in life, especially, most of us, I don't know if most of you got to this point in time where you hit quarter life crisis. It's usually around 24, 25, 23, 27, 28. And you become depressed because what you thought you want to do in life, your achievement, your set goals are not really coming true. And you take some time to worry, to reevaluate, and then out of that time, for me personally, I got to make up my mind on what else to do. And sitting down with yourself and telling yourself the hard truths can actually be the way to start. And you emphasize that emphatically. You also said that we could ask family members. This is very true. Sometimes, especially most of us as children, when you were younger, your mom would say, oh, you are going to be this because you are good, you are a doctor, you are going to be this, you are going to be that, and you begin to like, oh, really? Because they have seen something in you. And who says you can't do that as an adult? You can also ask them, hey, your younger sister, I think I want to be, I give a lot, I teach a lot. Do you see that in me? I'm a very good listener. She's like, you don't listen. You only respond, based on what, so you can use that to build yourself. And lastly, you said we could use online tests. And there's a popular one I usually use, and it's not sponsored, nobody's paying us. But the Myers-Briggs, test was something that was recommended to me years ago, and it's something that I feel some people can use to start up to identify who they really are in life. You just know your temperaments, and so many books that many of us have read. Tim LaHaye's book, Why You Think and Act the Way You Do. That was an eye opener for me while I was I just got into the university at that point. But these are all good points you raised, and listeners, you can hear that. For some of you who are lost, you can use these resources that have been mentioned to identify what are your strengths and how you can use that, how you can project this strength out there to the world. It's just like going for an interview. That's what the world is. You always try to present the better part of you, and you hide your strength. That's just what branding is. It tells you can use that to know what your weaknesses are, work on them, project the right images out there. Peter, I have this question for you because I've seen your work on different platforms, and they are kind of interesting. And I wanted to ask this: do you have advice to people on the type of platforms they should use? Do you feel platforms differ from each other? Because I used to hear that Twitter was for people who were savvy, and the rest Facebook groups were for you have handled this, Instagram and the rest. Do you have do you think platforms differ and people should take into cognizance those things before they launch out?
Yeah, so that's absolutely true. Different platforms actually have, different purpose and different mission. I think that's the first thing you should take cognizance of, whatever platforms you have, is it that some platforms that are mostly just, entertainment. There are some platforms that are, and you know, apart from just entertainment, there are some, that are just very professional and all that. So I think that's the first step, right? Actually identifying, and I think it's a very easy thing, right? So you depends on what you're trying to brand yourself into, right? And then you can actually see in all of these different platforms, if you are an ardent follower of people, you can actually see how people project themselves, using different platforms, right? So, but I'm not here to advocate which platform is best and all that, but you have to be very intentional, right, about the content you are sharing in each platform. Let's use LinkedIn for example. We know it's a very, very professional platform. People share their career mostly on platform. You hardly hear someone going to on LinkedIn and just posting a picture of them just walking with their dog. And but those are some of the things that people can post on or maybe site like Instagram for example, and just to kind of show their own personal. I've seen some people outside of their own professional life, like they want to see they want people to see them in totality, right? They are these people that maybe they are speakers, and then you can just see them post a picture one day that they are just working on their garden, just for people to know, kind of have a complete perception about them, right? So I think it's depends on the need that you want to meet. Then it tells you which of the platform that you are going to use. And then there are some platform that helps you to maybe you're able to actually connect with some other people. So you take cognizance of, number one, the purpose of what kind of brand do you want to become, and then secondly, kind of look at how each of those different platform meet your specific need. And then, okay, let me use an example. So if you're trying to post something on Facebook, on YouTube, then there is a YouTube thumbnail, right? If you want to post something on Facebook, maybe there might be like maybe you're trying to design something, then there's going to be something specific for Facebook. And then if you're trying to post something on Instagram, there's also a specific way that you have to design it. You see some people posting it's the same type of message on different platforms, and then they kind of work on the presentation style in order to suit that particular platform. So I think we have to take cognizance of what we are posting and then how it suits, because if you are posting what is not relevant to that style of that particular platform, then people feel like, oh, this person is not serious, right? He doesn't understand the algorithm. So that's another thing. You need to know how the algorithm work in each of those platforms, and then see how it fits to whatever content you want to share and how it aligns with your brand.
Thank you very much, Peter. I believe that what you've said is true. We've got to know what each platform is. And you mentioned algorithms, very powerful. Some people don't know that for you to go big on a specific platform, you need to understand how the algorithms work. And I usually recommend people, go take out time, study how the top performers in each, of those platforms perform, and look what suits your personality type. Some people are not going to be Twitter kind of people, for example. Some people are going to be more of the Facebook, or so know what works for you, and you do that. But of recent, talking about platforms, gentlemen, even as we begin to wind down, I remember that we had issues with, of recent, with the president of the United States, and when he was removed from, I'm not this we are discussing politically here, so I'm not trying to look at the political aspect of it, but we saw what happened when his tweet was removed and his account was blocked, from the platform. Now, what would you advise people, Amozo J. Paul, people who build on public platforms like this, people who have taken out time to build on platforms where they don't own, like we call it, hired land. What do they do in order to ensure that they are in control? Because nobody wants to feel, out of control, especially if you build a community online, especially for those who sell, or those you just want to promote yourself, and you have a mass following and the rest. You have a newsletter that you send out to your people. How do we engage um, um, non how can you have your own, how can you take out time to take people off of these platforms, and use them, these rented platforms? What else can somebody do if you want to be in control and not lose out like the former president of the USD?